which this is a perfect segue into the checklist. So when you're thinking about this next section, I'm going to go through. This came from Kiplinger's, and I just pulled some nuggets out of it. The link is in there, so if you guys go to the PDF of this, you can find the link and go to the actual article if you wanted to. But taxes, both along the way and at exit, are going to be significant. So for everybody, but especially business owners. So the time to start planning for that is now. This goes back to the plant a tree. The best time to start planning for this would have been when you first started the business. The second best time is right now. So even if you're not planning on selling anytime soon, we're all going to exit our business one way or another. And statistically, it doesn't always happen on our timeline or our terms. So having these conversations ahead of time and mapping out the plan you want to mitigate, these risks, of which taxes are a big one, makes all the sense in the world, because we're talking about, business wealth that's in the millions of dollars. And that means that the taxes on that could be in the hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars as well. So how do you deal with it? Be clear on both your business, financial, and personal financial goals. So we've done a lot of that through this program. We've talked about your vision. We've defined, desired income streams. We've backed into a minimal viable selling price, AKA your freedom point, value of your business, to net enough money after taxes and fees to walk with enough capital to live your lifestyle and fund your lifestyle. So you guys have done more in the past few weeks here than the vast majority of Americans in general, but just business owners specifically on thinking this stuff through. So build on that. It's the beginning, it's not the end. And then exit planning is a team sport. So who's on your team? You need to have somebody who understands how these three pieces of the puzzle work together: business, financial, personal freedom. Kind of acts like a QB. So you guys all have us here at Cultivate and me. So you've got someone who ticks that box. You need to have a wealth manager, somebody who understands investments and insurance. Sometimes that's the same person, sometimes not. Some people just specialize. They have more of a bias towards investments or more of a bias towards insurance. Nothing wrong with that. Just know you need both. So just make sure you find somebody who's equally as well-versed in both and not leaning one way or the other. If they do lean one way or the other, no problem. Find two people, one who's strong in one and one who's strong in the other. That's just kind of how it is in the financial services world. The cultures of some of the companies, the big institutions out there, have a bias, and oftentimes that bias is spread throughout their people. So just be aware of that and know that you need both. These are just tools, financial tools. There's nothing good or bad about any of them. They all have a particular use case. It's like a golf bag, you might not like a particular club, but it's in the bag for a reason. And when you have that scenario, you pull out that club. Same thing with financial, the various financial products and tools that are out there. The key thing is find people who you kind of that you click with, and that know their stuff. And I'd say that you click with is equally as important, because these are big decisions, and you don't want this to be the conversation with somebody you never want to talk to. It needs to be somebody who that you do have that connection with, because these are important conversations and they should be part of the planning process. Just like you're building your business, these people should be involved in the decisions and the discussions with you along the way. When it comes to tax, you need a CPA/small business tax professional. So whoever you have as your CPA now ought to fit that bill. If for some reason you're feeling like they're lacking, they're more just rear view mirror. They can do your taxes from a compliance standpoint, but they're not very proactive, then start talking to your friends in business. Start reaching out to your Cultivate advisor. Start coming to our various events where you have the opportunity to meet other business owners and ask them questions about their particular tax people. And do you feel that they're really proactive? And can you give me some examples of that? I'm looking for somebody who's willing to help me chart out the future, not just document my past. They're out there. So you just need to find one. And then a tax and estate planning attorney. This is different than your business attorney. Don't use the same one for this. I want and this is separate from your CPA tax pro. You want an attorney who's super strong in tax and estate planning for business owners. It's different than for typical W-2 employees. You have more options, you have more complexity, and therefore you have more options. And so the very generic type of estate plans that are out there, AB trusts, when I die, it goes to all to my wife and their trusts, so on. Those could work for people who have minor complexity in their world. For you, when you own a business and this business is doing well, and a lot of you on this call are investing in other things, other like real estate, other assets, other income producing assets, all of a sudden your financial picture is way more complex than a typical well-paid W-2 employee. So when you're looking for teammates that are going to help you, make sure that they're people who are used to dealing with folks like you, that they have a lot of experience and can give you examples of how they do more of this advanced type of planning, because this is when you fix your tax and asset protection problems in the future, is the stuff you're doing right now, which can include prepping for, hey, I'm not planning on selling anytime soon, but I'm building a valuable business, and at some point I will transition. And it's likely to look like this. I'll probably want to exit operationally first, Mr. and Mrs. my exit planning team. And so, like we talked about a few weeks ago, I might not be given any equity, but my comp plans are probably going to need to change, as I want people to step into leadership positions without equity and act as owners in this business, even though they don't have equity. So I'm probably gonna have to up my compensation game and figure out my golden handcuffs. What are the different advanced planning strategies that allow me to do that? Plus, some of these people might not have the cash to buy me out, but I'd like them to in the future. What are some of the other planning tools that we could do that allow us to sock away money in vehicles that they could then use to help buy me out in the future? Where I tie that to vesting schedules, that, they got to stick around and hit key performance milestones for a certain period of time before the benefit of that money being available to them to buy me out accrues. There's lots of ways to set this stuff up if you're talking to the right people. And if you're talking to the right people, you don't have to know the answers. You could just tell them my scenario. Here's what I'm thinking. But then eventually, I might actually just want to sell this thing outright. And taking all that into account, what's the best way for me to be set up so I don't get hammered in taxes? And that if many of you guys have, lots of employees who get up on ladders, who drive company vehicles. There's lots of risks out there. And if successful business owners have a big target on their back financially. So there's just lots of ways to protect yourself against that. What questions or comments do you guys have about the team that you should be assembling if you don't already have them?
I've got a question.
But I just wanted to make a quick comment. Just what we talked about, the 5-year wait period with S Corp, like that 30 seconds today, more than paid for this entire program, like 100-fold. I just emailed our CPA. Come on.
Yeah. Now, in that example, it's only because the other brother was already planning on sticking around with the new company in a leadership role.
Yeah.
That worked. Otherwise, he would have gotten hammered too. So And the other brother just didn't. He's, you know, his age. He just at the time of his life, there was not a role for him, nor did he want a role in the acquiring business, right? But he needed to walk with a mill. They worked it out, front loaded all of the different tax deductions, the step up in basis, everything. They front loaded it to him, knowing that brother number two was going to get the advantage of the S corp election after 5 years and mitigate a layer of taxes. So they worked it out amongst them to make it as good as it could be. But the C corp was not a great, the thing for them to be in. There are probably some circumstances where the C corp makes sense, but from a lot of small businesses, it's just super tax laden.